Good afternoon to each and every one of you. My name is Ricardo Moore, Chair Pro Tem of this particular meeting for the Board of Police Commissioners. At this time, we'll have invocation by Deputy Chief Chaplain James Powell.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Lord God of grace, in the name of Jesus, we're asking you, Lord, just to look down upon this great body of people that are gathered today. We're asking you, Lord God, just to look down upon our mayor and look in the staff and look down upon our police chief and his executive and command staff. Look down upon this, Lord God, city, asking you to bless, touch, and anoint. Let your blessings be upon us and let your will be done. Lord, I ask you just to look down upon the citizens and, Lord God, just help us, Lord, to work together to make and to continue this city to be great as it is today. Lord, I ask you just to strengthen us. Let your blessings be upon us. Lord, we're asking you, Lord, just to touch. And, Lord, let your guidance and let your hands of protection be upon us, upon our officers, and upon, Lord God, this great body of police commissioners. Strengthen them, Lord God. Let your blessings be upon them. We give you the praise, honor, and the glory, and the victory shall be yours in your name. Amen. God bless you.
We do not have a quorum at this time, so we'll go to staff reports. Madam Secretary.
The reports for today are the incoming correspondence, which you will find under tab 6, Commissioners. We have memorandum from the Personnel and Training Committee, Budget Committee, and the Office of Chief Investigator's Weekly Inventory Report for the date cited January 1st through January 2nd. 10th. I apologize. The announcements for today are as follows. The next board meeting will be next Thursday, January 23rd, 2025 at 3 p.m. here in headquarters. The next community meeting will be next month, Thursday, February 13th at 6:30 p.m. Location is in the 11th Precinct at Say Detroit Play Center, which is located at 19320 Van Dyke Avenue in Detroit. The next committee meeting will be held here at Detroit Public Safety Headquarters, and in this room, the Scholar Herbert Conference Room, that's next Tuesday, January 21st at 4:30 p.m., sir. And that's the end of the report.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We can go into oral communication from our audience.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first speaker will be Mr. Dana Lunn, and then we'll go into Zoom. Mr. Minister Eric Blunt. And Miss, you, sir, please. And please state your name for the record.
My name is Mr. Dana Lunn. I came down here with just a few questions that has never been taken care of yet since 2016. I've been trying to get my FOIA from the city of Detroit, which the attorney for the city of Detroit, Attorney Philip Hiltner, and I haven't gotten it yet to this date, 2025. And I can't figure it out. And I've been trying to figure out who Cedric Banks is. I called his office over 10 times, and no one never answered the phone call. And what is this organization of the police commissioners? Because it's not publicized, because you would have more people down here trying to figure out what's going on here, that no one recognized what's happening down here, because you can't get anything done, because the 9th Precinct has not, since I became a voter at 18, I'm 60 years old right now, and nothing has ever been done with the 9th Precinct. That's the most disgusting, pitiful, sorriest precinct in the city of Detroit. And it makes no sense at all. And I can't figure out, with this FOIA, I got the case numbers, and they will not, give me my information that I need. Why is that? Can nobody answer that? They always take me out in the hallway, but never give me my information that I need. And with you people right here, nobody can't give me an answer? I can't get an answer?
Chief Bliss.
Through the chair. Sir, to address your first, did you say it's a FOIA request?
Yes.
You can go down to the city county building, and their FOIA office is there through Corporation Counsel. So you can make an appointment, or you can go down and you can file that. And what they will do is they will give you response. They will give you, if there's a certain cost in order to get you those records, they'll actually give you an estimate of what it would cost. But I recommend that for that problem right there, that would be the first thing to do, is go down to city county.
Excuse me, what's your name, sir?
Deputy Chief Mark Bliss.
Mr. Markowitz, I have that. I've been filing for that since 2016. All they ever gave me, they never gave me the video. To this date, they just gave me the voice, never gave me my video. I've been fighting for this ever since 2016. And just one more question. They always testing everybody else for drinking and driving. Why they never test the officers?
I'm not familiar with your case, so I don't know the basics.
It's just not my case. Now, I don't mean to cut you off. It's just not my case of drinking and driving. I've never been caught for drinking and driving or nothing like that. But in all other cases, why do they not test the officers for drinking and driving? I brought my granddaughter here just to see how the adults are in this world today before she becomes an adult, how, I just hate to say the word, silly they are and acting right now, but it's just ridiculous. And I hate to let her see how they treat her grandfather, the way they treat him. And I try to keep my neighborhood up to par, and they do not even come out. I go to all the community meetings, and they treat me like trash.
Thank you, Mr. Lund. Minister Blunt.
I just can't understand why y'all can't give me an answer. That's all I wanted, is
The
an
deputy
answer.
chief just gave you an answer.
Sir, you can make a separate request. If there's a part of it that's missing, you can make a separate request in the FOIA office for that specifically, and they have to give you an answer. They have to give you a letter or some type of documentation indicating if they can or if they cannot. Now, there's laws that prohibit certain things from being released, but they have to tell you. So either way, you will get some resolution to that.
I'm gonna continue to try. I done been down there, Amanda Kelly, Daniel Clark, they say they don't have it. And I just got the numbers right here. They just don't want to show me the videos.
It's entirely possible that due to the length, that the video may not still be there. But again, I don't know the specifics of your case, and I don't want to give you wrong information. I can only go on the basic information, which is you would like certain information to be released to you, and that's a FOIA request. And that's through Corporation Counsel. And I know that they generate those all the time because we do get those requests. They're asking for documents from us, or even video, or anything like that. So I know that it's happening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Would you have a young man speak to Ms. Blossom over here? I represent part of 9th Precinct.
Speaking to the microphone.
I will look into the situation also. If he would share, Ms. Blossom, would you share my number with him? And I would reach out in terms of talking to him directly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Blossom, you okay on that information? Okay, thank you. Mr. Blunt.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm Minister Eric Blunt from Sacred Heart Catholic Church right here in Detroit. The young man that just spoke, I've been here since 2012, so I have seen the runaround, the misdirection, the lies that you will receive about why you can't get basic information. And I'm glad you brought a young person here so they can see how things are going so bad for so many residents here in the city of Detroit. I'll answer your question about drug testing. As an accountant, I was subject to random drug testing. Police officers are not subject to random drug testing, and that's why they don't do it. It makes no sense that they have a badge, a gun, and the power of life and death and not be tested for drugs. One of the small things that I'll bring up in my last minute is the lack of even an annual report. Can someone please tell me where the 2023 annual report is? We are in 25 now. I understand from most people it takes you guys 12 months to produce an annual report. But I do have a clue. 2022 was 2,700 citizen complaints. In 23, that number went up 50%. In 24, I imagine that number went up another 50%. So it's another misdirection. Lie would I have you to say that all of the information that we want, basic information we need, is being withheld, misdirected, or giving you some other excuse as to why we can't do basic things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blunt. Ms. Williams? Did the chief want to say something right quick?
Yes.
Go ahead, chief.
Through the chair, just to clear it for the record, Minister Blount, we do drug test. And matter of fact, we do random drug tests. And matter of fact, we have increased our random drug testing. So we are doing it, and we have increased doing it over the years. So without a doubt, members are being called down. They are being drug tested. I can assure you and the citizens of the city of Detroit that is happening.
Don't assure us, prove it. We want the data.
Hello, through the chair. I'd like to speak about, since the Detroit Police Department has taken over transit, it's been an issue. I had an incident occur a while ago, and another incident occurred last night. And when the detective came, she said the footage was not, they did not have the footage. So the question is, since the Detroit Police Department have taken over the transit, and there's a whole lot of illegal activities going on. I continue to talk about officers staying in these facilities, and they do get on transit too. A lot of them who do not have transportation. But the problem is, if the bus drivers are communicating with officers through their earbuds and driving city official vehicles, that's an issue too, because you aren't supposed to be on their devices, period. That's 29 days without pay. Another issue, last week when I left from the Board of Commission meeting and I saw the man that raped me when I was waiting on a Gratiot bus last week, and he was at the same bus stop and got on the same bus with me. And this is the man who raped me, and I have an issue with this. If the Detroit police officers were doing their job correctly and was not trying to cover up my rape, he will be locked up. He drugged me and raped me when I was unconscious, and I seen him last week at this bus stop. And we had a late meeting last week. So when I put the information in my phone, shortly after, I see a helicopter flying over. I'm like, who they here to protect, him or me? It's not acceptable, period. And yesterday, at 3426 Mack Avenue, an officer was in there with her weapon. How did she get in there with a weapon when you have to go through security? They are in these facilities. Do your job and you will find out correctly.
Through the chair, I do have a question for Deputy Chief Bliss. Since Detroit Police have taken over transit, I know there are cameras on the buses. Are those cameras going to DOT or are they going to DPD?
Through the chair, I'm not sure if they're hooked into DPD yet, so I can follow up and get back with you on where those cameras are going. But I do know that for transit, we do get on the bus, we do patrol transit lines, so we are actively out there.
And I know that firsthand because I have been increasing my ridership with the DOT. So I have seen officers board the buses, and I have seen them ride them and interact with the citizens as well as with the bus driver. So it's a good They've been doing their job, so thank you.
Okay.
It should be going to Zoom.
Zoom. All right, let's.
Wanna go to your
Yeah, we
regular
go to
program.
Zoom. We'll finish it up. Let's do the Zoom.
Chair, we still have one speaker in the room, then we'll go to Zoom, Mr. Ruben Crowley.
All
Then
right.
we'll go to Zoom.
All right. You may be heard.
Okay, today I come before you, and I hope this is the last time I'm gonna speak about Kenesha Coleman. Kenesha did not shoot herself. The one responsible.
Excuse me, please don't mention names.
Well, how do you expect me to tell you who did it without mentioning their names? Okay, well, there's a person
Okay,
that
all
went to work, got dropped off by her grandmother at the McDonald's, and her grandmother went to go home 7.5 to 10 minutes away from the McDonald's, the fast food restaurant where she works at, and she got a call from this person, individual. This individual, come back and get me because Kenesha shot herself. Now, there needs to be an incoming phone call or text coming into this individual's telephone during that 7.5 to 10 minute time period, informing her that Kenesha shot herself. There's not one. I stand on that. There's no indication that anybody informed her that Kenesha shot herself. So when she makes statements, you have to look at all the statements she made. She tried to blame it on the boyfriend. She just said Kenesha was found outside like that. How is it that she has any knowledge whatsoever on what happened to Kenesha Coleman on that day when she said Kenesha was on the couch asleep when she left out the door to get in the car with her grandmother?
Chief, can you have the department to look into what he's alleging or whatever, to vet that out?
Through the chair, absolutely, sir. We'll have some.
They already know about it. I called them already. I called everybody.
Okay.
But it's coming from the chairman now, so.
All right. Yeah. All right. On Zoom.
Our next speakers will be Ms. Sharon Pennell, Ms. Tara Brown, and former Commissioner William Davis.
You may be heard. Ms. Brown?
Hello, hi, I'm sorry.
Yes.
This Miss Pennell.
Okay, you may be
Chief,
heard.
Deputy Chief, we had our second precinct meeting. The captain finally showed up. I asked him about a phone number. He said he don't have a phone number. And the commander still hasn't showed up at any of our meetings. They keep switching commanders. I'm so disgusted with this precinct. Pardon me?
No, you continue to be heard. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And, we just want to know who's in charge at second precinct so we can get familiar with our captain and our commanders. The commander wanted to know who is Miss Paley. My name is Pannell. And if he had come to the meetings, he'll know who I am. Because I'm at every meeting, basically. We need some communications from the captain and the commander. I need some help.
Are you done? Let me ask.
Yes, but somebody gonna help us?
Yeah, excuse me. Is her number associated with that call? No. Is she have an email associated with it? Hold on, let me finish, hold on. Yeah,
all my numbers.
Commissioner Moore, if you can help facilitate that meeting.
And what's concerning through the chair about
Yeah.
this particular complaint, all complaints are concerning, but what's so upsetting about this complaint is Ms. Pennell supports the police. And for her not to get what she's asking for, just to have a captain or a commander come to a meeting, that's outrageous. Because here it is, I call her the deputy police commissioner, district number 7.
We expect that to be resolved today.
That needs to be taken care of.
It needs to be resolved, and then the captain,
Excuse me, we expect it to be resolved today. You know,
He's been there 6 months and wouldn't give us a phone number. That's uncalled for.
yes, we expect it to be resolved today, and we want a report that it is resolved today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Deputy Chief, please text whoever you need to text now. You know, we expect that to be resolved today. Citizens should be heard, especially someone that's a part of the community of that particular precinct, and that information is not being provided. If that deems out to be accurate, I don't know what the disconnect is, but we expect that to be done today.
Understood.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, who is the commander of the 2nd Precinct, and who's the captain?
It's Commander Connor.
I'm sorry, didn't hear you.
Commander Connor is the commander of the 2nd Precinct.
And the captain? You know, offhand?
The
Mitchell, Robert Mitchell.
Yeah, Robert Mitchell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will facilitate that before the end of the day, for sure.
Yes, and we need to be reported back to today that it's been resolved.
I just want to echo what was said, too, about Mrs. Parnell. She's been actively involved with the commission, to my knowledge, at least 8 or 9 years. She used to attend every single meeting, and now she doesn't. But she is, as you said, the real leader in that precinct and in that community. I know that, and I'm not in the 2nd Precinct.
Actually, you are, but.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Burton.
Just a little.
To Chief Blitz, is the proper way to go by this is for citizens to call into the precinct, whatever their precinct happens to be?
Through the chair, there's, number one, they can call in. I always like the citizens to reach out to their NPO, because the NPO can give them when the next community meetings are and kind of get them up to date, because I really want to have that face-to-face conversation. So I kind of encourage that, but they can call the precinct. But usually, I think the first step is their NPO, because their NPO is out there with them. That's why I'm really just disappointed in hearing this right now, because this should have happened quite some time ago. So it's going to be resolved today.
Is DPD is currently is DPD currently using the DPD Connect, the app?
So we don't have like a DPD Connect application, but they can call the precinct. They can call the 2nd Precinct.
No, it used to be an app. I don't know if you still use it or not, but DPD used to have an app, DPD Connect, where you go there, it had all the MPOs information there, all of the precincts information, and even talked about crime trend and for the various precincts.
Okay, so I would reach out to the precinct that's 596-5200. That's the.
I remember that was one of the apps. I think that was an app during the time Chief James Craig when he was here. But I don't know if the department is still using that or not. But it was very user friendly, and a lot of Detroit residents was logging on to that app.
Well, through the chair, the other thing is you can go to DPD Facebook. You can also go to the City of Detroit website and go to Detroit Police Department, and all that information is on there also.
Okay, Commissioner Moore.
Just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I can't speak for any other district or any other precinct, but in the 2nd, 6th, and 10th precincts in District 7, our captains and commanders have been very engaging over the years with the citizens.
Sure.
To a point where I don't have to attend the meetings because they're engaged. But when I hear this, that makes me think I should be over the 2nd Precinct a little bit more doing something. And when I go over there, it's not going to be really nice because Ms. Pennell and Madam President run it over there. So it's like, you know, why do I have to go over there and Bigfoot the situation when we have competent leaders that can handle that?
Yes, sir.
Through the chair, if I could just add, Commissioner Moore, if you could send me her contact
I'll do
information.
it right now.
Because I'd like to reach out to her.
Me too.
All right. Next. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, currently we've got three speakers. Ms. Tyra Brown, followed by former Commissioner William Davis, followed by Mr. Bowman.
All right.
Ms. Davis?
Or Ms. Brown?
Ms. Brown. Sorry, yeah.
Good afternoon, Commission. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You could be heard.
I apologize. I'm dealing with the flu right now. I wanted to call in to ask respectfully that you all take another look at the Sherman Butler case. I know there's nothing that you all can do about it as far as prosecuting it. I'm clear on that. What I do think needs to be done is there needs to be some oversight of the police department and how this case was handled. I got a police report yesterday. It was 26 pages long. Everybody's statement was different. I didn't see any civilian statements, even though from the video, you can clearly see them standing in the doorway. Sherman Butler's case was overkill. In my opinion, it was mishandled. And the fact that the public has repeatedly been lied to, it looks like a cover-up. Then when you FOIA information for it, to speak to what the previous speakers were saying, when you send DPD a FOIA, I just got one back today when I requested Officer Goff, who was present on the scene, his body cam video. I got sent a bill for $219. But remember, they've told us they've released the video. So why is his video $219 when the public didn't have to pay for the other one? The other thing is, when I requested some of the information from his file, from the investigation, I got sent a bill for over $5,000. Again, what is it that is that's trying to be hid? I've had case files before, several pieces of information, police reports and all sorts of things. I get a FOIA back every single day. So I don't understand what makes the Sherman Butler case any different other than what we've seen. And what we've seen has not been good because, as I've said before, damn near every statement on this case is inconsistent with the video and it's inconsistent with what we were initially told by Kim Worthy and James White. Please look into this. Protocol was not followed, and something needs to be done.
Thank you so much. We did refer this to the department to take a look at Deputy Chief Bliss, and we have the attorney looking into it, and it also has been referred to OCI in terms of it was received as a citizen complaint. And so we want to make sure that the department is working with the OCI and making sure all of the stuff that need to be reviewed, that there's full cooperation with that. And we would be open and transparent with those findings as far as from OCI, but we are also looking for the department to respond to the document that was given on last week. Commissioner Bernard?
Just quickly. When we as commissioners referred it to OCI, and the response from OCI was that they needed the original unedited videos. Yeah. The video that you posted and that you indicated was the video was actually a combination of two videos. But it's our understanding that there were at least 4 videos. OCI needs all videos, all original unedited videos. And OCI, along with the attorney, is going to report back to us, and we will report to the community about any policy violations depicted in those videos. Based on what I just saw on the ones that you already did, there's several policy violations, I mean, tremendous ones, but that's separate. We want to see, he's insisted on the unedited videos. He's handling it personally. He's here?
No,
no, he's not here today.
He's
right.
not here today.
I'm looking that way, don't
Yep.
see. So that is very important, and this is for us priority 1.
All right. Next caller. Yep.
Former Commissioner William Davis.
You may be heard, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to start off by saying that I do live in the 2nd precinct also. And during the time that I was police commissioner for District 7, the second precinct, along with the 10th and the 6th, had more stable leadership. I think it's a problem when you rotate the captain and commander a lot and in and out. You know, don't get me wrong, there may be a need sometime to do that, but that makes it more difficult for the police community relationship counselors to understand and interact, which helps everyone. Also, especially the second precinct the last couple of years, you know, I don't go to every meeting, but it seems like every time I do go to a meeting, there's a different commander or captain. You know, the Board of Police Commissioners, every time a captain or a commander that's assigned to the precincts to get moved, y'all should get notification. Also, as it relates to something that the board chair brought up at the last community meeting, you know, I think it's a problem anytime people's vehicles being towed and they're getting these huge bills. I think that y'all should be looking into that, and we need to get some resolution because people have been complaining about towing in this city for years. I know during the time that I was on the board, I know another commissioner, she had her car towed, and you know it was a lot of money. You know, we need to know what's going on, why is it taking so much, and there should be a cap on how much they could charge somebody, especially if they just had it for a day or two. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, your next speaker would be Mr. Bowman, followed by Ms. Marguerite Maddox.
Yes, you may be heard, sir.
Hello. This is Scotty Bowman. I'm speaking on behalf of Detroit residents advancing civilian oversight, DRACO, as well as expressing my support for a lot of the opinions and papers put forward by the Coalition for Police Transparency and Accountability. So, first of all, regarding criminal complaints, non-criminal complaints, there seems to be this misperception that if a crime is involved or a potential behavior that could be a crime is involved, that somehow this absolves the Board of Police Commissioners from holding anybody accountable. And that is simply not true. And I heard this come up way back when there were repeated calls for investigating the cover-up of the murder of Kenesha Coleman, and now lately because of Kim Worthy's desire to not prosecute prosecute the bailiff in the murder of Sherman Butler. But in both cases, whether or not there was a crime committed, it does not change the fact that there could be a non-criminal complaint involved in that. Violation of policy isn't necessarily a crime. However, if you commit a crime, it is a violation of policy, and a person could still be found guilty for violating the policy if one is clearly identified. In this case, there should be an investigation of the officers present at the scene of this murder, even though the shooter was the bailiff and not them. Generally, people present are considered accomplices, but again, that would be a criminal name. Did they violate policy? Did they follow the proper procedures at the scene? And if they did, then they should be held accountable accordingly. That is the job of the Board of Police Commissioners and the Chief Investigator. Thank you.
Let it be clear, we have received the complaint and we have considered to be a citizen complaint, and it's in the office of the chief investigator, and it will be investigated thoroughly, and there will be a response to it accordingly. Just like any other civil complaint, the thousands that we receive every year, we have competent staff to be able to look at it, and an attorney will work with the chief investigator on this particular issue. So there's nothing else that we can do but do our fiduciary responsibility, and that's what we're going to do. And we would not shirk our responsibility in no shape, form, or fashion. And wrong is wrong, right is right, plain and simple. Next caller.
Ms. Maddox.
You may be heard, ma'am. Are you there, Miss Maddox?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Happy New Year to everyone. And number one, we do not have the interpreters on screen. Repeat, we do not have the interpreters now. With the issue of the people complaint about the contact person. We already decided a better way to communicate with each other. And I am getting double feedback inside the studio. It is double echo sound. So I can hear what is being said, yes, but I could not understand because of the feedback. And another issue I have is why is that we cannot get police officers to live and stay in the city of Detroit? Because our tax is paying for them to be trained, to be lived in the city of Detroit. I'm done.
Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
I entertain a motion for the approval of January 16, 2025 agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
not have roll call.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You call the roll, please, Madam Secretary.
Commissioner Woods,
Present.
Commissioner Vice Chair Smith is excused. Commissioner Bernard,
Present.
Commissioner Banks,
Present.
Commissioner Bell,
President, District 4.
Commissioner Burton,
Present, District 5.
Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Present.
Commissioner Presley,
Here.
Commissioner DeWalsh.
Present.
10 present, sir.
Thank you very kindly. I entertain a motion for the approval for the January 16, 2025 agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Bernard, and supported by Commissioner Moore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 9th, 2025.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Presley, supported by Commissioner Moore. Any discussion?
Discussion?
Yes, sir.
Through the chair, I'd like to ask Madam Secretary, was I excused last week? I did not see that in the minutes. The online minutes.
I apologize for the oversight. You were excused. You did send communication, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's a correction in the minutes. It should be noted
Yeah.
that if there's no objection, that correction can be made.
If there's no objections, correction can be made. But another one here.
Well, I just see that it says excuse right here in the notes. Are these the minutes right here, or is it something?
No, there's not a correction.
Yes, all right.
I'm referencing the online minutes, the online transcript, not the piece of paper. This is not the minutes.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You know,
It's not the same thing.
You saying in the
I'm referencing the online minutes.
that far verbally is what
Yes.
verbal. Okay.
I mean, the transcript.
The transcript.
That comes in through our email.
Okay.
I was not excused on that.
Okay. All right.
And so I like the record to reflect that I were excused last week.
If there's no objection, there being no objection, all in favor say aye.
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 With the correction, to the correction, right?
Point of information, I don't know if you're sure there is a correction. We are approving the minutes, and according to the minutes, his excused absence is already here. We're not approving a transcript.
The transcript is not something that the board approves.
Okay, all right, all right.
Through the chair, through our parliamentarian, the transcript is the minutes from the meeting from the 9th that I had an excused absence for. This piece of paper says excuse here, but it doesn't say that on the transcript that went on in the meetings. So therefore, someone wouldn't know whether I was excused or not excused.
Mr. Commissioner, and to the chair,
Yes.
it is not that the correction cannot be made on the transcript. It's that it's not the board that has to make that approval. So as the chair, you can ask the staff to make that correction to the transcript.
Okay.
That's different from approving the minutes.
Okay, all right. So we don't need
Is that
it.
difference clear?
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you, Mr.
absolutely. It'll be corrected. That'll be corrected, Commissioner. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Introduction of the BOPC staff, and so on and so forth.
Present today, Board of Police Commissioner staff, Attorney Dante Goss, Drew Freeze, Felicia Tyson, Teresa Blossom, Robert Brown, Mary Barber, Candace Hayes, Armesia Joshua, Jasmine Taylor, Office of Chief Investigator's Office are Tiffany Stewart and LaSonia Sloan, DPD HR Director Katrina Patillo. For Chief of Police Office, Deputy Chief Mark Bliss. Our interpreters today are Ms. Yakata and Dr. Stephanie Beatty. Court reporter is Don Handyside. Charles Henry for Media Services Video. Elected officials noted are Marie Overall of State Representative Tyrone Carter's office, Fredia Butler, 2nd Precinct Community Relations President, LaDon Davis, Office of Council Member Fred Durhall, and former Detroit Police Commissioner William Davis. Are those recorded of the names I have been submitted?
Thank you very kindly. We're going to go.
Mr. Chairman, the Board of Parliamentarian is also present.
I am so sorry.
Not an apparition. I really am here.
Absolutely.
I apologize.
She's just back from the islands.
It's so noted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Let's go to the Chief of Police report.
You do not have a report, Mr. Chairman?
No.
Then just please state that.
There's no report for the
Thank
chair.
you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Deputy Chief Mark Bliss on behalf of Chief Bedison. I'll start with the update on injured officers. We currently have no department members who are disabled due to on-duty injuries. Moving on to crime data, as of the 15th of January, homicides, we are down 38%. Non-fatal shootings, we are up 8%. Robberies, we are down 13%. Total Part 1 violent crime, we're down 6%. And carjackings, we're currently at 0%. Moving on to mental health-related calls for service. In the last 7 days, we had 339 calls for service, and we serviced 305. In 2024, at this point, we had 571. We currently have 701. Serviced calls in 2024, we had 504, and currently we have 618. Moving on to overdose-related calls. The last 7 days, we had 95 calls for service, and we serviced 77. For calls for service in 2024, we had 227, and currently we're at 208. For serviced calls, we have 163, and currently we're at 159. Moving on to significant incidents. First incident is a double non-fatal shooting. On Wednesday, January 8th at 8:26 p.m., officers were dispatched to the 8400 block of Patton to investigate a double shooting. Officers were en route to the 8400 block of Patton when DPD dispatch notified them that victims were at the Detroit Firehouse located at 18140 Joy Road. Officers arrived at the firehouse and observed 2 victims being treated by medical personnel. The victims were transported to a local hospital and treated for gunshot wounds. Both victims were listed in temporary serious condition. The victims stated that unknown males shot them as they drove down the 8400 block of Patton. Officers arrived at the incident location and observed evidence that a shooting occurred there. Officers from the 6th Precinct preserved the scene, and detectives from the 6th Precinct Detective Unit were notified. Detectives determined that several young men wearing all black fired at the victims as they drove down Patton. Officers observed additional vehicles and homes that were also struck by gunfire during the incident. Detectives have no suspects identified at this time. The incident is still under investigation. Detectives are asking anyone with information regarding this incident to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP or Detroit Rewards TV. The second incident is shots fired. On Saturday, January 11th at 7:32 p.m., officers were dispatched to the 9800 block of Chalmers to investigate shots fired. Officers arrived at the location to assist on-duty police officers who heard shots fired in the area. No officers were injured as a result of the shots fired. Officers stated they were conveying a citizen home traveling south on Chalmers when a gold SUV traveling north on Chalmers fired approximately 5 shots as they drove by. Officers notified DPD dispatch of the incident via DPD radio and then dropped the citizens off at home. Officers then returned to the location where the shots were fired to conduct a follow-up investigation. Officers from the 9th Precinct preserved the scene and notified detectives from the 9th Precinct Detective Unit. Detectives determined that the passenger of a gold SUV fired shots. Detectives were able to identify the suspects who fired shots, and on January 14th, Detroit police arrested the suspects without incident. Detectives are preparing a warrant to be submitted to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. Incident number 3, non-fatal shooting. On Monday, January 13th at 8:07 a.m., officers were dispatched to the 9400 block of Holmer to investigate a shooting. Officers arrived on scene and were approached by the suspect, who stated that he just shot the victim. Officers arrested the suspect at the scene. Officers entered the location to assist the victim and observed the victim suffering from a gunshot wound to the head. Medics arrived at the location and conveyed the victim to a local hospital where the victim was listed in temporary serious condition. Officers from the 10th Precinct preserved the scene, and detectives from the 10th Precinct Detective Unit were notified. Detectives determined that the victim and suspect argued before the shooting because the suspect turned the Wi-Fi off while the victim was using it. On January 14th, detectives submitted a warrant to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. On January 15th, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office denied the warrant due to a self-defense claim by the suspect. It was determined that the victim pointed a handgun at the suspect before the suspect shot the victim. Incident number 4, fatal shooting. On Tuesday, January 14th at 12:07 a.m., officers were dispatched on a 2200 block of West McNichols to investigate a fatal shooting. Officers arrived at the scene and observed the victim suffering from a gunshot wound to the chest. The victim was transported to a local hospital by medics, where he was pronounced deceased on arrival. Officers from the 8th Precinct preserved the scene, and detectives from the homicide section were notified. Detectives determined that the suspect and the victim were involved in an argument before the shooting, and the suspect left the location on foot after the shooting. Officers from the 8th Precinct, Special Operations Unit, and the Headquarters Surveillance Unit discovered the suspect walking in the area of Burgess and West McNichols. The suspect was arrested and conveyed to the Detroit Detention Center. Detectives from the homicide section are preparing a warrant to be submitted to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office for review. Incident number 5, officer-involved shooting. On Wednesday, January 15th at 8:05 p.m., officers were on routine patrol in the Dupree and Morang area when they observed the driver of a silver sedan on the cell phone while driving. Officers then conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. Officers approached the vehicle and requested the appropriate paperwork, at which time the driver of the vehicle refused to comply with the officers. Officers then opened the vehicle door to further investigate, at which point the driver drove away from the officers. As the suspect drove away, one of the officers was trapped in the vehicle and was being dragged. The trapped officer fired one shot before dislodging from the vehicle. The suspect drove away from the location east on Dupre toward Moras. The shot does not appear to have taken effect. The officer was transported to a local hospital and treated for minor injuries. The incident is still under investigation. Detectives are asking anyone with information regarding this incident to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP or Detroit Rewards TV. On a positive note, coffee and cake. On Monday, January 15th, the retirement celebration was held for Captain Derek May in the Schuyler Room of the Detroit Public Safety Headquarters. Captain May served with the department for 27 years. First Responders Night. Tonight, members of the Detroit Police Department and DPD Law Enforcement Explorers will be attending the Detroit Pistons game at 7:00 p.m. for First Responders Night. During the game, officers will be competing with members of the Detroit Fire Department in a multi-event race on the court. That concludes my report out.
Any questions? Yes, sir. Commissioner Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Chief, I heard what you stated about the officer being dragged, and I was going to ask the question anyway, but can we see the video to that? It just doesn't, I understand officer being dragged, but usually it's because the officer went inside of a vehicle while the door was closed. Are you saying this time that the door was open? Or is that not your report? If it's not your report, then I understand.
Through the chair. I haven't seen that video yet, so as soon as we're able to see it, I'm sure that they'll release it to the board in order for them to review. So I don't want to speak prematurely on it, on what actually happened. So what I'd like to kind of withhold my comment until I'm able to visually see it myself.
And also, the commander has been in touch with Ms. Pannell, so they're going to work on some things as early as tomorrow. So we shouldn't have that issue festering, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bernard.
Two things. In response to what my colleague just said, I thought that, I don't know, Detroit, I know that several cities, communities, large cities in the country have decided not to, if you will, stop people. For example, you said on your cell phone. This whole incident happened because of a minor, if it's a misdemeanor, I don't even know, but a minor, almost civil, would be treated as a civil infraction. So my question is, what is our position on that? And then I have, the second question is that in our materials today, you have a memo regarding a three-day training program called Back to Basics, Fundamentals Training Course for any officers who voluntarily want to be retrained. May I suggest that those people that you have involved in disciplinary actions, be they those that come before us or those that you handle internally, be required to go back through the three-day basic training. They get paid for it. It doesn't hurt to be retrained. We can all hear it more than once if we want to really internalize it. But to me, it's a proactive way. You mentioned when I walked in, you were talking about drug testing of officers. But this, of course, basic training covers that. So it's a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. And it may just, ring a bell in somebody's head. Maybe I need to do this differently. But back to my first question first.
Through the chair, we do enforce the motor vehicle laws. So we don't have any reduction in any type of, we're not like other departments that say, these are lesser ones. We enforce the motor vehicle laws totally. So there is no, if somebody violates that, we will, in certain cases, investigate. There is no lesser charge. It doesn't matter if it's a civil infraction.
That includes reaching in somebody's car because they were on their cell phone?
Well, through the chair, as I already explained, I haven't seen the video, so I don't want to speak prematurely on it because it wouldn't be fair to the investigation. It wouldn't be fair to give you false information.
Thank you. But do send them to training, please, or consider that.
Through the chair, absolutely, ma'am.
I'll recommend it to the chief as well.
Anything further?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Again,
Commissioner.
related to the officer-involved shooting. And so it's my understanding that the individual who drove off has not been in custody or retrieved?
Through the chair, it's my understanding that the person has not been in custody yet, but I know that we're currently out looking for that individual.
And so was the stop long enough to retrieve license plates, number, and information, or was it, I'm sure, obviously having not seen the video, do we know the tenure, the time of the stop?
Through the chair, yes, we do. There's some specifics that we do have, and it's helping us in our investigation.
Thank you.
Anything further? Yes, sir.
Chair.
Commissioner Burton?
I have a few questions. Chief, pertaining to the officers that were not MCOS certified, are there an update status on those officers? Are they going through the MCOS?
Through the chair, I do have the Director of Police Personnel. She has been handling that personally, and she's been working vigorously on getting that. We are down to, how many?
Her report is next.
Okay, but yes, we are currently working through it. You know, as I explained, there's two parts to it. First is us getting the paperwork, and then the second part is MCOS reviewing it and approving. So we are vigorous in getting all the paperwork to MCOS, but we, in some cases, are, waiting on MCOS to come back to us and say, okay, yes, this is approved, or can you resubmit this or fix this? So it's a back and forth, but we're definitely getting basically to the end of it now.
Okay, I hope that we can hear later from the HR director as well on that, and also we as a body like to know more about that, because we get a lot of calls from our constituents all the time, and since this story has broken. Addition to my following question, when it came to New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, how many shooting incidents was reported, and how many guns was confiscated, and how many arrests for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day? Do we have a report on that?
Through the chair, I can get that information. Commissioner, what I can do is, as soon as we're done here, I can make sure to make the request. So I'll follow up with you to make sure I get exactly what you want in order to get that report to you.
Can you send that to my email?
Through the chair, I can send it to the Board of Police Commissioners, and it can get to whoever's email that it needs to get to.
Sure, and then also at the next meeting, if you can provide that with the public, because the public would like to know more about that as well, since the city invested so much heavily in ShotSpotter technology.
Through the chair, we will provide that report out once we get the information.
All right. You good, Commissioner? Burton?
I'm all set for right now.
Yes,
but I
and
will have
that revision,
questions.
has been made in the transcripts too. I just been alerted. Yep. Director Patillo.
Good afternoon. Through the chair, I'll be presenting the Human Resources Report for the month of December. So give me just a second. So as I stated, this is for the December report. So the department was currently filled at 97%. When we get to the sworn officers, we were filled at 99% with a 1% vacancy. On December 31st, we had 31 vacancies for sworn officers, and on that Saturday, we hired an additional 15, which brought us down to the 20s. So great job all around for that. For the civilians, we were at 92% filled and 8% vacancies, and for police assistants, 97% filled with a 3% vacancy. For sworn recruiting, from beginning of the fiscal year, we had a total of 1,724 applications. 506 were in process, 1 withdrew, 568 were archived, 79 were hired during the fiscal year. 177 were temporarily disqualified, 152 were permanently disqualified, and 241 was waiting on MCOs. For the MCOs testing for the month, we had a total of 157 scheduled for the written test, 94 appeared, 62 passed the exam, 32 failed, 2 reschedules, 2 withdrew, and 61 no-shows. For the physical exam, 152 were scheduled, 80 appeared, 53 passed, 27 failed, 4 rescheduled, 68 no-shows. For Academy graduates, we did not have an Academy class graduation for the month of December. For total new hires, we had 27 sworn, 31 civilians. Total population for the new hires was 58. For Detroit residency, for Detroit, total sworn 605. Non-Detroiters, 2,028. For total civilians, for Detroit, 430. For non-Detroiters, 325. And for police assistants, we had 15 Detroiters, 17 non-Detroiters. So in the new hires, we had 14 Detroit residents for civilians and 6 Detroit residents for sworn. We did not have any interns. Our last interns for, she was a carryover from the Mayor's Fellows Program. Her last day was December 31st. For attrition, we had sworn 11 officers who separated from the department, 9 civilians for a total of 20. For your leave of absence, for the FMLA continuous, we had 21 sworn, 6 civilians. For FMLA intermittent, we had 108 sworn, 55 civilians. For paid parental leave, we had 8 sworn, 1 civilian. Medical leave, 2 sworn, 3 civilians. Military, 1 sworn. Restricted, we had 137 sworn, 6 civilians. Disabled, 22 sworn, 5 civilians. Sick status was 29 sworn, 3 civilians. For personnel suspensions, we had a total of 22, 21 officers, 1 sergeant. For the monthly separations, as I stated, it was a total of 11. That breakout was 6 officers, 1 sergeant, 1 lieutenant, 1 detective, 1 captain, 1 corporal, and we have a total of 500 in the drop deferred program.
Let me stop you for a minute. Did the ones that was separated, did any separate because of discipline?
Give me 1 second. Also in the category, we had 1 that passed away. There was 1 that resigned under charges, yes.
Yes, and was that forward to MCOs?
That should have been. Let me just check the name right quick. Give me 1 second. The one I'm thinking of was forwarded, but on this suspension roster you have is pending arbitrations. But I will definitely confirm that it was, and I'll get back with you today.
All right, thank you. You continue.
So just to give you a few year-end stats. Give me 1 second. So we had a net gain of officers. So when we took a look at, as you all know, that the contract was signed for the sworn increase in their salaries, that was implemented November of 2022. So these stats that I'm going to give you is from 1 January until present. From 1 January 2023 to the present, we had a net gain of 347 police officers. For the calendar year of 2024, we had a net gain of 143. So since January the 1st of 2023, we hired 643 police officers. We separated 296, and that is your net gain for the sworn. For the civilians, we had a net gain of 117 since January the 1st. And the difference in that is that in 2023, we only had a net gain of 59. For the academy, we actually have 6 classes that are at the academy right now for a total of approximately 182 students. We did start a class on January the 6th with 32 officers. We're going to graduate a class on January the 24th with approximately 39 officers. And before I get into the MCOs, and just one other note, we are working with the city representatives for the upcoming summer internship program, which would be the Mayor Fellows Program and also the Grow Detroit Young Talent. So the details have not been pushed out on that. However, the Grow Detroit Young Talent applications, as I'm told, will be open starting around February the 6th, and that is the youth that the city departments try to hire between the ages of 14 and 24. So before I get into the MCOs information, I just want to, as we ended up the year-end numbers, I just, because I didn't do this by myself, and I'm a team player, and so I just wanted to be able to thank the recruiting team and the HR team for their hard work. A lot of the individuals work more than 5 days a week, more than 8 hours to be able to do what they can do. I want to thank the leadership for supporting us and all the initiatives, and also the union, both unions, all three unions, actually, they supported us in every single initiative that we put forward. The city council, I've also spoken with them, and they graciously wanted us to come out to their districts to have recruiting events. Then also along with the mayor, he supported those initiatives as well. Our leadership has already stood here, and then for the BOPC, you all actually supported our initiatives. You passed out our flyers, you showed up at some of our events. So we could not have done those type of numbers without the support of everyone. And so we hope that you continue to stand behind us and everything that we do, because the work is not over. And so even though we might be in double digits right now, that can all change. And so we still have to put our efforts behind the recruiting efforts. So as far as for the MCOs, when we originally started, it was 32 officers. 3 officers resigned, which brought the numbers down to 29. 19 officers are on the streets right now. We have 5 officers that are under review, and that means their paperwork is up at MCOs being reviewed. Hopefully by today or tomorrow, I'll get a update as to whether they will go to final review. So there's several reviews that happen at MCOs. It's not just one in review. They can come back for just something small. It could be an initial is not at the top of the page or something like that. So we have a process here that we are basically streamlining and looking at every single question, every single form. So 5 of those packages are under review. 4 packages, we are still pending some type of paperwork, and then we have 1 officer that is currently right now overtaking the RPTE course. And so when he is done, we will complete his package or complete the process that we need to do to get him back up. And so that is where we are. So we are working it diligently to get all the officers back on the street. Pending any questions, this concludes my presentation.
Commissioner Burton, then Commissioner Bernard, and Commissioner Moore.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Question for our HR director. There was a number of officers that was brought on that was not MCO certified no longer. How did a mistake was made? How they were selected? How did they come on board? How long were they on the streets working as DPD officers but were not MCO certified? How did that mistake made?
DC Bliss, did you want to take that?
Through the chair. So we did a deep dive, and there are a certain number of failures on our side. And then there was, when we were fortunate that one of our sergeants did an audit and came back and was able to identify where there was a deficiency. And that led us to audit our entire roster. So that's how we uncovered some of these issues. And it just comes down to a couple things that the investigation's almost done, but it just comes down to, first, there was a individual that responsibility to put it in the system, did not put it in the system. And then the responsibility is to report out to MCOs yearly to verify our rosters. And what we found in that case is it was not happening. That was not happening at all. So that check and balance that would have allowed us to catch this didn't happen. Because as you know, some of these came back, they came on several years ago. And some of our rosters that was submitted, they were not accurate. So we are actually problem solving that right now. We're putting in a new process to ensure that never happens again. We have quarterly audits. and we are just working through it to make sure that we were fortunate to identify this, and now that it'll never happen again.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd just like to comment about this. The problem that I have with your response, Chief, and yours as well, Ms. Patillo, is that there's been no accountability whatsoever for what is a major, major issue. If I'm flying on Delta Airlines and I have 19 pilots or however many you had that aren't licensed as pilots, and I discover that later, I am very disturbed about that. The potential consequences and liability for the city as a result of a huge oversight that's not even fathomable in any business for any personnel department, whether it's Ford Motor Company or a trucking company. The first rule is not all this minutia at the back. It is, do you have the license to drive a truck? Do you have a pilot's license? Do I have a driver's license? That's the first question an officer will ask me. Show me your license. Show me that you have the right to drive this car. For us to have officers on the street interacting with people, and I'm asking for a report on that too. All of the officers that were not licensed, that were on the street, I want to know what they were doing, if they arrested anybody, if they're involved in any grievances, if they're, in any complaints or anything else. I want to know what they did, and if there's any litigation involving any of them. Because I can tell you as a lawyer, if you had saw me to stab a person to death, if you didn't have a license and you arrested me, that would be the first thing I'd say to a jury. This guy is just a person. He has no right to arrest me, no right to hold me, no right to ticket me. His or her observations are irrelevant because they're unlicensed to have any official evaluations. And I'm also disturbed that you met with 3 members of the board. I had a very intense, I understand, meeting with them. Fine. But that is not the full board. And for the board not to be able to address you, question you about this, and address this issue is a failing on our part, quite frankly, because there's no corporation in America that you could walk into a boardroom and say that people who are, like I said, pilots who are supposed to be licensed, were not licensed, and the HR director not appear before the whole board and in a confidential or other situation and address this. But there have been no consequences to you. There have been no consequences to the department and no accountability. This doesn't fall through the cracks. This is bigger than that. And our potential liability could be, you think it's bad for those firefighters in California? Just imagine what it would be for us in a city that's a microscopic compared to Los Angeles, given the fact these officers were involved in anything. This is major, and I want a report on it, formal report, like I requested just now, on these people, what they've been doing for us, and they certainly shouldn't be doing anything right now until such time as they are IMCO certified. We can't afford the liability. We don't want the exposure. And I think the board has to address this seriously. It is extremely, think about it. Go on, get it on the airplane and have the pilot's not licensed. Think about how you feel about that.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Moore.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just want to segue off of the IMCO situation and get into more of this being marketed. The statistics that you provide to us are excellent every month as it relates to the attrition rates and things of that nature. How will we go about getting this online, posted, so the citizens can see this for themselves?
I do believe that upcoming should be an annual report, and that information will be in the annual report.
But what about like online?
I'll get with I don't know how the BOPC disseminates it, but I know we are preparing data for DPD as well.
If we can work with our board secretary and team and Ms. Blossom to be able to upload it on our website for public consumption, that'd be great. And we also can put it on our Facebook page if that's satisfactory.
Absolutely, because I believe Commissioner Hernandez highlighted how well it was a while ago, and the citizen just asked me about it, and I says, well, let's ask.
Yes. Okay. Commissioner Banks?
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to concur with Commissioner Bernard on the officers not being certified. That's a solid statement right there, and I just want to back you up on that. That was very solid, very solid. That's very important.
Not even an apology. You just continue business as usual, like it's usual. It's not.
Yep. Commissioner Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify a statement made by the commissioner. The MLC Section 764.16.
If you could talk in the mic.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
A private person may make an arrest in the following situation for a felony committed in the private person present. I just want to clarify that.
This is not a private person. This is a person acting under color of law in uniform. The pilot.
I just want to clarify.
Well, let me make it clear that this situation is under investigation. Is that correct?
Through the chair, as I was saying, we have a current investigation, and in our findings, those that are at fault will be held accountable.
Yeah, so, we know that it's being investigated, and let the record reflect that all commissioners were invited to a meeting to be briefed, to be briefed by Director Patillo to make sure that it wasn't a quorum in the room. It had to be done in sections and things of that nature, and some folks wasn't satisfied with that. However, everyone had the opportunity to be briefed on that particular day, and whoever is at fault will be held accountable. If there's someone to be held accountable, they will be held accountable. And the OCI do have the names to be able to report to you, Commissioner Bernard, as relates to see if there's any policy violations or any citizen complaints were done against any of those officers. And then far as from the criminal liabilities and things of that nature, the Wayne County Prosecutor Office is doing a deep dive investigation, and they are actively investigating the different scenarios on what's legal in that particular regard. And so we await the findings of all of these investigations and actively want to know what happened in that situation. And so that's the factual aspect of things. And no officer at this particular time that is not certified is not working in the streets and things of that nature. And how many returned thus far, Director?
19.
19 of them has returned. What is the timeline and where you think that all of this will be done?
I am hoping by the end of the month that it's done, that all the officers that are back on the street.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have taken a more active, it's different nuances to this situation, and we await the full investigation report. We can't grasp at straws, but absolutely understand and believe that we have our eyes on this, and we would not let up until the community get all the answers that they deserve in this commission as well. So thank you, Director Patillo. There's no more question. Oh, you have a question?
I do have a question. Through the
Commissioner
chair.
Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is about the DROP program, and it's been a while, so if you could refresh my recollection. The DROP program, how long can an officer participate in it? And are all officers who, I think it's retired, are they all able to participate in it? And how many, you gave a number on how many are participating in it.
So I believe that number was 500.
Are currently in the DROP program?
Currently in the DROP.
Can you give a brief description of what it is?
Thank you.
So I don't have the contract in front of me. DC Police, do you want to cover that? I believe it was 10 years, and I believe a couple of years ago there was a MOU that was signed for LSA, for the DPLSA, where when they came up on that 10th year, they would have to submit a memo through channels to the Chief of Police to extend.
So can we start with an overview?
Yeah, I can tell you what it is.
Okay, because you just
Hold on,
asked.
hold on.
Can too.
I just need the overview. I know what it is because I participated in
The
it.
public doesn't
So
know.
I know what it is. I'd like for the director to tell us what it is, or the deputy chief, as well as give us the information that I requested.
Through the chair. So, and I'm going to be very general, but basically, the DROP program is a program to basically keep members, give them the option to retire, but they would drop at a certain rank, and they could take some of their money, they could reinvest some of that money, but it allows us to maintain certain levels of knowledge within a department. So what it allows us to do is a member can drop, and they have automatic 10 years they can stay in the program, okay? And after that 10 years, then they have an option of 5 more, but every year you have to apply to the chief of police to extend the DROP program. After you get your 5, then you're done. So it's a total of 15 years that you can be in the DROP program.
Okay. All right. Yes, Commissioner.
It's my understanding that the DROP program was initiated as a result of the bankruptcy for the city of Detroit. The receiver for the city of Detroit said we had lots of police officers who had been on the payroll for many, many years, and the issue was, how do you get people to retire? The DROP program says that, I think, you tell me, that at a certain point, I think you are literally, if you will, forced out of the department. And then you can apply for another job after you've with your full retirement, all that kind of stuff. But then you can apply for another job. We have several people in this room, generally, who are part of the DROP program, who are officials with the department, as you know. And then they can be rehired with the department in a new role, starting like a new pension program, a new everything. Is that correct? I mean, I know 1 or 2.
Through the chair, no. Usually a person that enters the DROP program still maintains their rank and their current status within the department. It's purely for retirement purposes and money. It doesn't go into your pension. That you can take that money and it can be reinvested. Okay, but you don't go get another job. You're still working Detroit Police Department.
Right.
So, and it just allows you to reinvest money, and I don't know, it's my understanding that the DROP program was started prior to the bankruptcy.
No, it requires the approval of the chief individually. You can't do it for like 10 people. It has to be, Linda, you can be in the DROP program. I apply, I want to be in the DROP program, and then I'm approved by the chief, for example, and then I'm able to like double my money, so to speak, and, continue to work with the department. And that's really what it is. Most people are not approved.
No, through the chair, you have to be approved, and there's certain.
I said, but most people who apply are not approved.
Not most, all have to be approved.
I know
Not
that.
most or maybe, it's all have to be approved. I just want to make sure that
In
we're
the
clear.
program, you have to be approved.
If we can.
Point of order, speak to the chair, please.
Speak to the chair, and y'all can talk offline on this. Are you done, Director Patillo? Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm done with her, but I just have one comment about Grow Detroit Young Talent.
Yes, ma'am.
And we've participated as the board before in the past, so I would encourage staff to look into it now, because in the spring, in the summer, when they start to come, it'll be too late to look into it. So it might already be too late, but to work on that, it's an opportunity for young people to actually work with the Board of Police Commissioners, the staff, as well as OCI.
Absolutely.
And gain some invaluable experience. So I would encourage staff to look into that.
Absolutely.
Thank
I
you, Mr.
concur
Chair.
with that.
Thank you through the chair for Director Patillo. I'm on the slide with the HR monthly suspensions, and I'm noting that there's an individual who has been suspended with no pay since 2020. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of cap on the tenure of a length of a suspension, or how long a suspension can go for an officer to still be an officer but not working.
You can.
Through the chair, there is no cap for it. Once you're suspended, you can be suspended until if there's a criminal case that's adjudicated or the administrative case is adjudicated. Or in other cases, if you have a criminal case and it's been extended because you've had, maybe another court date will go until the end, because that may affect the charges administratively. So you can continue to go for however long. Now, it could impact your license. So you could come back, but now have an inactive license, and now we have to look at getting you relicensed. So it does affect you.
What, do you have a timeline on that? The time that it will have to?
Each is different, through the chair.
Yes.
Each case is different in regards to how long a person will be off.
And I mean, it's less of a concern because this individual is no pay, but is it a policy within the department to ensure that those who are suspended with pay, that there's a certain kind of time frame that those cases are being adjudicated so that we're not paying someone for not working for a long period of time?
Through the chair, the members being suspended with pay and suspended without pay, in both cases, the investigative entity is working as those are the priorities because we want to get them back. We want to get that resolved as quickly as possible because we don't want anyone out there that, number one, we're paying and they're not doing anything, or number two, they may need to be paid because they don't have any money coming in. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we can get that resolved as quickly as possible. But in some cases, we are waiting for either the criminal case or other things to be adjudicated before we can go forward. But in those cases that we can, they are the priority.
Thank you.
Yep, and if you can do a review with the chair of the Citizen Complaint Committee on each one of those individuals that are outstanding, so that we can know who they are and what's going on with their situation and move accordingly.
Just one final thing.
Yes, sir.
The board today has requested a lot of information at different points, not only from you, Director, but from other folks.
Yes.
It's important for our staff, and I'm sure you already know, to follow up on this because follow-up is key.
Absolutely.
To everything. And that goes into an email I sent to the chief this weekend about 3 leaders within the department are experts at following up on different citizen complaints. So I just want our staff to be impressed where the commissioners, all these different requests we have, is please follow up. Thank you.
Yeah, we expect a report on that as well. Yes, sir.
Through the chair, I'm requesting, since there was a lot of requests, can you make a formal request?
It will be.
Thank you so much.
It will be. Thank you.
Transcript, too.
Yep. Having said that, thank you, Director Patillo. We have one more oral communication before we go to the Secretary, Mr. Smith. No. All right. Oh, you may be heard. I'm sorry.
No problem. I just want to say this board has a responsibility to hold officers accountable. Everybody under the chief is responsible to this board when it comes to complaints and things of that nature. Also, I want to say, Deputy Chief Bliss, it was very disrespectful for you to go back and forth with the commissioner, Commissioner Bernard. She is in this capacity above you. You can be suspended by her as well. You are under her jurisdiction as a Board of Police Commissioners member. I also want to say, I want to ask 2 simple questions. Did everybody on this Board of Police Commissioners watch the video of Sherman Lee Butler be killed? And also, what is the process for the Board of Police Commissioners to suspend an officer? We, as a citizen, I request that the officers present when Sherman Lee Butler was murdered to be suspended. I don't care what the prosecutor said about charging the bailiff. The officers who were on scene did not follow their own protocol in their command. I'm mad Tamara Libby Smith isn't here because she had a lot to say last week, and I'm here in person now. For her to disrespect people that are coming to demand accountability from a board that has a fundamental responsibility to hold officers accountable. Also, just some of the questions that you ask are just mundane. I also want to know about Lieutenant Brandon Cole. Is he still suspended? Does he receive some type of settlement? Is he paid? Maybe you can't explain the information, but I'm gonna keep asking. Never gonna go away. Also, if you have the power, I would like for you guys to suspend officers who are on scene, who let a person going through a mental health crisis be murdered and not wait for CIT, not make the bailiff leave the room, not command the situation. There's no way anybody who's a CPL holder or whatever it may be needs to defend 4 armed officers who have went through one of the best police academies in the United States of America. Am I correct? One of the best in America, right? People go here and they go to other states, anywhere else. You have a Detroit police certification, you can go anywhere. And also, how do you get to walk around the streets and detain people and arrest people, give out tickets without a certification? Really, Bill? That don't make no sense. A citizen's arrest is not somebody being detained and taking their freedom. Security guards can't do it. I couldn't take your freedom right now if I wanted to. Misdemeanor, felony, whatever. That's not how that works. You must have your certification. I can't do any job and be paid without a certification. Name me a job that I can be paid without a certification.
All right.
Willie
Thank
Bill.
you. Thank you so much.
No problem, Agent. Start calling you agents instead of officers.
Mr. Chair, currently we have one speaker on Zoom, Ms. Yvonne Jones.
Okay. You may be heard.
Good evening. This is Yvonne Jones, and I am a member of the Coalition for Police Transparency and Accountability. And I wanted to just follow up also to our last presentation, trying to inquire about the Sherman Lee Butler case, what happened, and with the police officers, and the response that we received from the commissioner saying that that had been resolved by the prosecutor's office. And that was not the question. The question was not about who did the shooting. It was about the behavior of the police, the misconduct. And that was not addressed. And it needs to be investigated and addressed and dealt with appropriately. I also want to say that in these meetings when the public can only get 2 minutes and we spend so much time going over administrative reports from the police, it seems the meetings need to be restructured and pay more attention to public concerns and citizens' complaints, because we have also requested information about citizen complaints that we couldn't get from the Board of Commissioners. And we keep getting sidewall when we ask for information, saying you can't do it for whatever reasons, and feel like that you're not exercising your authority because the Board of Police Commissioner is the oversight body, and you do have the authority, if you would exercise it, to work with us to make sure we have police transparency and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfinished business. Yes, sir.
Through the chair, I'll move to postpone a week. Is that not the right motion? Oh, we are doing it?
Outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thought we were moving till after the 22nd. No?
Right, we're doing it.
I stand corrected. Unfinished business.
You were right.
Uh,
It is the 22nd.
It's after the 22nd.
No, we'll wait till after the criminal proceedings, right?
Is that what was stated? What is going on?
He just made a motion to.
What? No, but I'm saying.
I'll make the motion to go into closed session.
And I think we should be mindful of what we share.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
So, through the chair, I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Section 8A of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.268A. Department's request for the board to consider administrative leave without pay but with medical benefits for police officer Donovan Donahue, badge 693, assigned to the 12th precinct.
Motion made by Commissioner Hernandez to go into closed section and supported by Commissioner Moore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. This is a 3-minute recess. Today is January the 16th at 4:52. The meeting is called back to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Smith is Commissioner Bernard,
Present.
Commissioner Banks,
Present.
Commissioner Bell, Commissioner Burton, Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Moore,
Present.
Commissioner Hernandez, Commissioner Presley,
Here.
Commissioner DeWalsh.
Present.
9 present, sir.
There's a quorum. Everyone introduce themselves that's in the room, or do we need to do that? We don't need to do that. Thank you. What is your pleasure?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll make a motion to postpone the closed session item. Do I have to read the entire motion? Ma'am? I have to read the entire, or can I say the item A under? Okay. So I'll make a motion to postpone until the next regularly scheduled meeting, item A under unfinished business.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Hernandez to postpone the item and supported by Commissioner Moore. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Let's go to the new business. Commissioner Hernandez.
Thank you. As part of new business, through the chair, Personnel and Training Committee held a series of different interview dates. We obviously filled the senior investigator position already. There were interviews that took place on believe it was December 10th, and we had a few commissioners present from Personnel and Training. They interviewed a series of candidates for the position of investigator. As a refresher, there were 2 different positions that were open, and as such, there's going to be 2 separate motions that I end up making on behalf of the Personnel and Training Committee. Just as a very quick overview, not only were there interview questions of these candidates, there was also a 2-minute video that was asked along with the written sample that each candidate had to complete. So with that, that's the only update that we have regarding this position, and I'll go into making the first of 2 motions. So by the direction of the Personnel and Training Committee, I move that Toya Lawrence proceed to the next stage of the interview process for the position of investigator in the Office of the Chief Investigator.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Hernandez.
Made by the committee.
But made by
Mr.
the
Chair.
committee, by direction of the Personnel and Training Committee. We're going to, and supported by.
It's not necessary.
No, it ain't necessary.
It's a motion by committee, no second is required.
Right, absolutely. And so all in favor say aye. Oh, any discussion? Any discussion?
Thank you, sir.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The second motion that I'll move by direction of the Personnel and Training Committee is that Jerika Johnson be reappointed as an investigator in the Office of the Chief Investigator.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just as a point of clarity, this was the second opening that was available, and we were able to tap into a previously experienced candidate who was willing to come back and wanted to work and was excited to come back to work. We vetted this through HR and went through all the proper channels to make sure that we could reappoint, and so we're in full compliance.
Yep. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Would you like to update about the search?
Before we go to that.
Yeah,
sir,
okay, excuse me.
Through the chair,
Yes.
there was an alternate candidate. Did
Oh,
we
yeah,
look into
absolutely.
that? So that we don't, in case the first.
Can you talk to the mic?
Sure. And the first candidate does not accept a position, instead of going back through everything, we recommended a second candidate be considered for the investigator position.
Yeah. Any discussion on that? Yes, sir.
Investigator certified with a work performance of this previous employee that's going to be reappointed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So
Yep.
it's HR.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
Chief Investigator, not the HR, I'm talking about Chief Investigator.
Yeah, both.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Yep. Any discussion as to the motion Commissioner Carter made about the alternative?
Oh, point of order. Again, if it's coming out of committee, I think that,
By the direction of the Personnel Training Committee.
and I don't know if the motion is actually read because we don't know the name of the individual of which we're speaking about.
I don't know the name.
It's in your
Is it,
form.
I don't know that.
is it on the report?
Yeah, it's in
Yeah.
your.
You saying in there?
I see.
It's not on there?
It is. I'm thinking of the motion in my head.
Okay.
Do you mind, through the chair, if I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Ms. Parliamentarian, well, through the chair, would it be easier to amend the motion that we already adopted, the first motion, since we're pursuing a candidate and this would be the alternate for that same exact position?
Amending a previously adopted motion is more complicated. If there is agreement on what it is you want to do, it would be easier if the chair asked for unanimous consent to allow it to be amended. If there's no objection, that would be the fastest way to handle that.
I'm asking for unanimous consent to amend the motion.
And add, as an alternate, Mr. Derek Cox.
And and
Is there any objection to amending the motion?
is any objection to amending the motion? There being no objection, the motion is
now
adopted.
before you is to add David Potts.
Another motion now before you is to add
Now,
David Knox.
is there any debate?
Is any debate?
Derek, not.
Derek Knox. Yeah. All right. No debate, no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. All right.
All right, last item through the chair again. So as the public knows and as we've been reporting out pretty much weekly, the search for the next chief of police has been underway for a few months at this point. The most recent update is January 10th, which was last Friday. The posting formally closed. Our search firm has been very diligent about interviewing a series of candidates. They're north of 20 different candidate interviews that have taken place. They are going to provide,
Say, I didn't hear you.
it's north of 20, and I'm going to get a final number of interviewed individuals. That doesn't mean it's the whole pool. But we're going to get a series of data points, including how many candidates were in the pool, publicly available information that we can release, not necessarily demographically, but potentially based on location, we might be able to source, given that this is a national search. So we'll have an update on those kinds of criteria. And in terms of next steps, we're anticipating getting that full report along with a list of 5 recommended candidates from the search firm by mid next week, mid to end of next week. At that point, we'll have a special search committee meeting to review all of the candidates that were in the pool, to feel comfortable with the 5. We will then make a motion to submit to the full body that we interview all 5 of those candidates in person during one of these 3 p.m. meetings. And the goal ultimately is that we end up providing our charter mandated obligation of providing 3 names to the mayor by the first week of February. So we're coming up on a pretty tight timeline. Those who are members of that special search committee, you'll get a notification as to the meeting, but that information will continue to be publicly available, or I would say available to every commissioner. And please check your inbox because you have been receiving updates from the search firm.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Just clarification, so we only have about 2 weeks before our Thursday meeting, which I don't think is February 3rd. It'll be the 4th or the 5th, no, maybe the 5th. But my question is, so you're saying that by the next 2 meetings, we're going to have the top 3 candidates to refer to the mayor?
So our tentative meeting date, we have not yet confirmed this, nor the location. We want to make sure that it's at a neutral site. 4 interviews of the 5 candidates would be in 2 weeks from now, which is the 30th of January. And we feel entirely comfortable with that timeline. And then after that, based on the vote that occurs at that meeting by this body, we would then submit to the mayor the first week of February, which is the week of February 3rd.
Thank you.
Yep. What is the pleasure of this board?
Move for adjournment.
Mr. Chair, on another topic, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Before we adjourn the meeting. We have a new administration that's coming into office in less than a week, I believe. Is it a week or so many days?
Monday.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say that, but, because I don't want it to be on Monday, but it is, unfortunately. What is the department doing as far as, are they planning how this new administration may impact, some of the, I'm concerned about mass deportation, but there are other areas of the department that may be impacted, like will the federal law enforcement agency, or will they have some guidelines or force us to do some things as it relates to protests, that occur, other what they consider illegal activity. Are we planning for addressing those in advance, or are we just waiting to see what's going to happen? I guess, I would expect that the leadership of the department would have a committee that would be, investigating or at least researching what the new administration may force our state departments or city departments to do, and be planning for it. That's just my concern, and I would like to know.
Through the chair. So we have had discussions. A lot of the things that may happen after January 20th, because there's rumors all over. There's 100 executive orders. There's this, there's that. A lot of it is waiting until we see what actually is put out, how it impacts the states, and what our response would be. But we are like everyone else. Of course, we're discussing it, next steps. Could this impact us? We don't want to move on rumors, and we want to wait, but at the same time, we are actively discussing it. We are keeping our ears to the ground, so to speak, to make sure that it will never be a surprise to us.
And then another just follow-up.
Yes, ma'am.
We do have 4 years of experience already, so we could at least look at some of those activities that severely impacted many of our communities. So thank you. I just wanted to make sure you were in discussion.
Through the chair, absolutely. And like you said, we've had 4 years. We know we've addressed a lot of issues then, so we come in with an advantage. But again, it's the wait and see approach, but definitely the discussion, definitely the planning. But there's a lot of other things that kind of have to fall out at the same time. So we like every other law enforcement department, we are patiently waiting to see what happens after the 20th.
And then just as a final, are we anticipating some cuts from the federal department as far as our department funding?
Through the chair, it's possible. We've had a lot of grants. As you know, we've had ARPA, and so far that has not impacted us. So as we wait until the 20th and see what rolls out after that, we'll see. I know that there's a lot of pro-policing things that are out there, so it could swing either way, but we have that every 4 years. You just never know what's going to happen, so it is very fruitful for us to have those conversations and to what if it. What's next. So we will be ready for whatever comes at us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to comment. I understand your position and certainly sympathize with it, but as we all know, and as many of us who were here during the 60s, 70s, et cetera, federal law preempts city and state law, irrespective of what they're saying in California. And the proof of that is what happened in Georgia and what happened in Arkansas when it came to school desegregation. When the president used Army, National Guard, and officers acting federal capacity to integrate schools, to integrate communities. There's no wiggle room on that. And the precedent was established, and as you and I both know, it caused tremendous rancor within those communities where officers, where the Army, where the military was brought in to desegregate schools. So following federal law, they absolutely have the power to do it. In answer to what I know of in terms of your question regarding cuts, and it was addressed in part on WJR the other day, with Chantel Jenkins, which most people in this room know who I guess now is running for mayor. And her statement was that, no, I'm not making, I was surprised. Her statement was that she was here during the bankruptcy, she understood what had happened with all that, and she specifically stated to the reporter that we're going to lose.
That sounds like a political.
You're teethering. Be careful, Commissioner.
Wait a minute.
All right.
I'm responding to my colleague that there would be approximately, she thought, $1 billion in cuts to the city because the whole community, the whole country has been flush with money. That's why we've got all this, this $36 trillion in debt. But a lot of that is going to change and be redirected. So there are going to be cuts. And I agree with my colleague that we need to look to see, particularly with respect to the police department, how those particular cuts or what cuts could happen. I mean, we know how much federal money we get.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's the point.
I'm very, very appreciative of Commissioner DeWash and the phenomenal job you have been doing in terms of with DPD budget. You have been doing a stellar job, and we welcome the public to come out and look what's been posted on as far as our networks. But you are doing a yeoman's job in scrutinizing that budget, and we appreciate all the commissioners who have chimed in on it. And so only thing we could do is deal with the budget that is before us at this time and be very, very prayerful that we don't experience anything major in that regard. But, I like to look at the glass half full and not half empty. at this particular point, you're doing a great job in saying what their budget is and scrutinizing their budget, and let's continue the job. And so having said that, I'm done.
I move for adjournment.
Motion made by Commissioner Presley, supported by Commissioner Hernandez. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried.